Have you ever noticed how a small child learns to walk? They don't attend seminars on walking techniques. They don't read books about proper foot placement. They certainly don't lie awake at night wondering if they're ready to take their first step. They simply try, fall, get up, and try again. And again and again. That simple truth contains the secret that has eluded so many of us in our quest for confidence. We've been searching in all the wrong places, haven't we? Looking for confidence in the mirror, in the opinions of others, in the depths of our own minds, when all along it's been waiting for us in the most obvious place, in our actions. You see, every morning across this vast world, millions of people wake up waiting to feel confident before they take action. They're waiting for that magical moment when uncertainty dissolves, when doubt disappears, when they finally feel ready. But here's the profound truth that might shake you to your core. They're waiting for something that can only come after they begin. Let it really sink in. The confidence you're waiting for, it's waiting for you, on the other side of action. I remember a story about a pottery class that perfectly illustrates this principle. The instructor divided the class into two groups. The first group was told they would be graded solely on the quantity of work they produced. The more pots they made, the better their grade. The second group was told they would be graded on quality. They only needed to produce one pot, but it had to be perfect. When grading time came, something fascinating emerged. The best pots, the most beautiful, most technically perfect pieces, all came from the quantity group. While the quality group had spent countless hours theorizing, planning, and worrying about perfection, the quantity group had been busy learning from their mistakes, refining their technique through action, and building genuine confidence through experience. This isn't just about pottery. This is about life. This is about you, sitting there right now, perhaps holding back from something important because you're waiting to feel confident enough to begin. Consider the aspiring public speaker who waits to feel confident before accepting their first speaking engagement. They study techniques, they watch others speak, they practice in front of their mirror, but their confidence remains elusive. Why? Because true confidence in public speaking can only come from actually speaking in public. The person who dreams of starting their own business, but keeps waiting for the perfect moment when they feel completely ready. They research endlessly, create detailed plans, seek advice from everyone they know, but their confidence never quite reaches the level they're waiting for. Why? Because entrepreneurial confidence can only come from actually entrepreneuring. The pattern is clear, isn't it? Yet we resist it. We resist it because taking action means facing the possibility of failure, and failure feels like the enemy of confidence. But here's another truth that might turn your world upside down. Failure isn't the opposite of confidence. It's the foundation of it. Every master was once a disaster. Every expert was once a beginner. Every success story includes a chapter filled with failures. But here's what separates those who build lasting confidence from those who don't. They understand that failure isn't personal. It's instructional. When you take action, especially when you're not feeling confident, you're not just moving toward your goal. You're building a relationship with failure that will serve you for the rest of your life. You're learning that failure isn't fatal. You're discovering that mistakes don't define you. They refine you. Learning to ride a bicycle. No one learns to ride a bicycle by studying the physics of balance. No one becomes a confident cyclist by watching others ride. The only way is to get on the bike, fall a few times, and keep going until balance becomes second nature. But let's dig deeper into why we often hesitate to take action. What's really holding us back? Is it truly the fear of failure? Or is it something else? Something more subtle but perhaps more powerful? Could it be that we've misunderstood the very nature of confidence? We've been treating it like a prerequisite when it's actually a result. We've been waiting for it to appear like some sort of magical gift when it's actually something we must earn through action. The truth is, confidence isn't a feeling we need to wait for. It's a skill we need to build. And like any skill, it can only be built through practice, through action, through doing the very thing we're afraid to do before we feel ready to do it. Consider this. Every confident person you admire started as an unconfident person who took action anyway. Every successful entrepreneur started with a shaky first step. Every accomplished artist began with imperfect creations. Every respected leader started with uncertain decisions. What if you were to shift your perspective right now? What if, instead of waiting for confidence to appear, you decided to earn it through action? What if you embrace the understanding that feeling uncertain, feeling scared, feeling not quite ready, these aren't signs that you shouldn't act, but rather signs that you're standing at the edge of growth? The most profound opportunities for building confidence often lie in the moments when we feel least confident. It's a paradox, isn't it? The very time when we most want to wait for confidence is exactly the time when we most need to take action to build it. The areas in your life where you're waiting to feel confident before taking action. What opportunities are passing you by? What dreams are you putting on hold? What potential remains untapped because you're waiting for a feeling that can only come from doing? The beauty of this truth about confidence is that it's equally applicable to all areas of life. Whether you're looking to advance in your career, improve your relationships, develop new skills, or pursue your deepest passions, the principle remains the same. Confidence comes from taking action. But perhaps you're sitting there thinking, that's all well and good, but you don't understand my situation. My fears are different. My obstacles are real. And you're absolutely right. Your situation is unique. Your fears are valid. Your obstacles are real. But here's what's also real: your capacity to act despite them. Let me share a story that might resonate with you. In a small town, there was a local diner that had been serving the community for decades. The owner, a humble cook who had started as a dishwasher, was asked how he found the confidence to buy the restaurant when the previous owner decided to sell. His answer was profound in its simplicity. I didn't find the confidence to buy it. I bought it to find the confidence. That's the secret so many successful people have discovered. They didn't wait for confidence to find them. They went out and found it through action. They understood that confidence isn't something you feel first and act on second. It's something you act on first and feel second. The most basic human activities: walking, talking, reading, writing. None of these came naturally at first. Each required countless attempts, numerous failures, persistent action. Yet now you do them with such confidence that you barely think about them at all. Why? Because you took action before you felt confident. But let's address something important here, something that might be nagging at the back of your mind. Taking action doesn't mean being reckless. It doesn't mean jumping into situations without preparation or thought. It means taking calculated steps, even small ones, in the direction of your goals. Consider the mountain climber. They don't start with Everest. They begin with smaller challenges, building their confidence through progressive action. Each climb teaches them something new, each success builds upon the last, and even their failures contribute to their growing expertise and confidence. The same principle applies to any goal you might have. Want to become a confident public speaker? Start by speaking up more in meetings. Want to write a book? Begin with a single page. Want to start a business? Start with one customer, one product, one service. The key is to break down your goals into actionable steps. Steps small enough to take right now, today, without waiting for some future moment when you feel more confident. Because here's another truth that might shift your perspective. Confidence doesn't come from doing big things perfectly. It comes from doing small things consistently. Every major achievement in human history started with a single step taken by someone who wasn't completely confident about the outcome. Every great invention, every revolutionary idea, every positive change began with someone who chose action over certainty. But there's something else we need to address. Something that often holds people back even when they understand these principles. It's the voice of self-doubt, that inner critic that whispers, "Who do you think you are? What makes you think you can do this? What will others think?" Let me tell you something about that voice. It's not there to protect you. It's there to keep you small. It's not wisdom speaking. It's fear. And fear, while natural and sometimes useful, is a terrible decision maker when it comes to your potential. The truth is, that voice of self-doubt never completely goes away, even for the most successful people. The difference is, confident people have learned to act despite it. They've learned that the voice gets quieter not when you wait, but when you act. Consider this. Every time you take action despite feeling uncertain, you're not just moving toward your goal. You're also proving to yourself that you're stronger than your doubts. You're building what I call action confidence, the deep-seated knowledge that you can handle whatever comes your way, because you've handled uncertainty before. This kind of confidence is unshakable because it's based on experience, not theory. It's built on a foundation of actual achievements, not wishful thinking. It's the difference between knowing you can do something because you've done it before and hoping you can do something because you've thought about it a lot. But here's where many people get stuck. They think they need to feel brave to act brave. They think they need to feel confident to act confident. They think they need to feel ready to be ready. But that's not how courage works. That's not how confidence works. That's not how readiness works. Courage isn't the absence of fear. It's action in the presence of fear. Confidence isn't the absence of doubt. It's action in the presence of doubt. Readiness isn't the absence of uncertainty. It's action in the presence of uncertainty. The parent who stays up all night with a sick child. Did they feel confident in their ability to handle the situation? Probably not. Did they wait until they felt confident? Of course not. They acted because action was needed, and in taking action, they built confidence in their ability to handle difficult situations. Or consider the person who stops to help at the scene of an accident. Did they feel completely confident in their ability to help? Unlikely. Did they wait until they felt confident? Number. They acted because action was needed, and through that action, they discovered capabilities they didn't know they had. These examples might seem dramatic, but they illustrate a fundamental truth. We are all capable of taking action despite uncertainty. We do it all the time in situations where we feel we have no choice. The key to building confidence is to bring that same action-oriented approach to situations where we do have a choice. Because here's another truth that might change how you see things. Indecision is still a decision. Waiting is still an action. When you choose not to act until you feel confident, you're actually taking action. You're actively choosing to stay where you are, to remain as you are, to keep your current level of confidence exactly as it is. But perhaps the most powerful shift in thinking comes when we realize this. Confidence isn't just about believing in our abilities. It's about trusting in our capacity to learn, to adapt, to grow through action. It's about understanding that we don't need to have all the answers before we begin. We just need to be willing to find the answers along the way. Some of the most confident people you know. If you look closely, you'll notice something interesting about them. They're not people who never fail. They're people who aren't afraid to fail. They're not people who always know what to do. They're people who are willing to figure it out as they go. They're not people who never feel fear. They're people who have learned to take action despite their fear. Let me share a story that illustrates this perfectly. In a small classroom, a music teacher conducted an experiment with his students. He asked them to perform a simple piece of music. Half the class was told to practice mentally, visualizing themselves playing perfectly. The other half was told to practice physically, actually playing the piece, mistakes and all. After a week, the results were clear. The students who had actually practiced, who had made mistakes and learned from them, who had taken action despite their imperfections, showed significantly more improvement and more confidence than those who had only visualized success. This experiment reveals something crucial about confidence. It's not built through perfect performance. It's built through imperfect action. Every mistake, every setback, every moment of uncertainty becomes a building block in your foundation of confidence, but only if you're willing to take action first. Learning to swim. You can study swimming techniques for years, but until you actually get in the water, you'll never develop the confidence of a swimmer. You can watch others swim, you can understand the theory perfectly, but real confidence only comes from feeling the water yourself, from experiencing the buoyancy firsthand, from actually swimming. The same principle applies to every area of life where you want to build confidence. Want to become confident in public speaking? You must speak publicly. Want to become confident in leadership? You must lead. Want to become confident in relationships? You must engage in relationships. Want to become confident in business? You must do business. But here's where many people get trapped in a cycle of inaction. They wait for the perfect moment, the perfect opportunity, the perfect circumstance. They tell themselves, I'll start when what? When the conditions are perfect? When there's no risk of failure? When success is guaranteed? Let me tell you something that might be hard to hear. That moment never comes. Perfect conditions are an illusion. There will always be reasons to wait, always be reasons to doubt, always be reasons to hesitate. The difference between those who build confidence and those who don't isn't in the conditions they face. It's in their willingness to take action despite imperfect conditions. Consider this. Every major innovation, every breakthrough, every step forward in human progress came from someone who was willing to act before they had complete certainty. They didn't wait for perfect conditions. They created better conditions through their actions. But let's address something that might be troubling you right now. You might be thinking, but what if I take action and fail? What if I make mistakes? What if things don't work out the way I hope? These are valid concerns, but here's a perspective that might help. Failure and mistakes aren't the opposite of confidence. They're the building blocks of it. This way, every time you take action and things don't work out perfectly, you learn something valuable. You learn what doesn't work. You learn how to adjust your approach. You learn that you can survive imperfection. You learn that failure isn't fatal. And most importantly, you learn that taking action, even when it leads to failure, is far more powerful than perpetual preparation. Let me share another truth that might reshape how you think about confidence. Confidence isn't just about believing you'll succeed. It's about knowing you'll be okay even if you don't. It's about trusting that you can handle whatever comes your way, not because you're certain of the outcome, but because you're certain of your ability to learn, to adapt, to keep moving forward. This kind of confidence, what we might call resilient confidence, isn't built through success alone. It's built through a combination of successes and failures, through actions that work out and actions that don't, through moments of certainty and moments of doubt. But the key is always the same. It's built through action. Consider the writer who sits down every day to write, not knowing if their words will be good enough, not knowing if anyone will ever read them, not knowing if their efforts will lead to success. What builds their confidence isn't the guarantee of success. It's the act of showing up, of putting words on paper, of taking action despite uncertainty. The entrepreneur who opens their doors each day, not knowing if they'll make a sale, not knowing if their business will survive, not knowing if their decisions are the right ones. What builds their confidence isn't the absence of these doubts. It's the willingness to take action despite them. This is where real confidence comes from. Not from eliminating uncertainty, but from learning to act in its presence. Not from avoiding failure, but from learning to use it as feedback. Not from knowing all the answers, but from being willing to find them through action. But there's another aspect of confidence through action that we need to explore, something that might completely change how you approach your goals. It's the understanding that confidence isn't just built through big, dramatic actions. It's built through small, consistent actions taken day after day. How a river shapes a canyon. It's not through occasional floods, but through the constant flow of water, day after day, year after year. Your confidence is shaped the same way, not through occasional bursts of courage, but through consistent action over time. Let me share a story about a craftsman who spent decades making beautiful furniture. When asked about his confidence in tackling complex projects, he said something profound. "I didn't become confident by dreaming about masterpieces. I became confident by making thousands of simple cuts, joining countless pieces of wood, fixing my mistakes, and learning from each project." The confidence to create masterpieces came from the willingness to start with simple boxes. This craftsman understood something crucial about confidence. It's built through mundane moments, through daily decisions to take action, through showing up when no one is watching, through doing the small things that eventually lead to big results. Consider how this applies to your own life. What small actions could you take today that would build your confidence over time? What simple steps could you take right now that would move you closer to your goals? What daily habits could you develop that would gradually transform your relationship with uncertainty? Because here's another truth about confidence that might surprise you. It's not just about what you do. It's about who you become through doing it. Every time you take action despite feeling uncertain, you're not just moving toward your goal. You're also becoming someone who takes action despite uncertainty. Every time you face a fear, you're not just overcoming that specific fear. You're becoming someone who faces fears. Every time you persist through difficulty, you're not just solving that particular problem. You're becoming someone who persists. This transformation through action is perhaps the most powerful aspect of building confidence. It's not just about achieving specific goals. It's about becoming someone who consistently takes action toward their goals. It's not just about succeeding at particular tasks. It's about becoming someone who isn't paralyzed by the possibility of failure. Learning to drive a car. At first, every action requires conscious thought, checking mirrors, signaling turns, applying brakes, watching for other vehicles. But through consistent action, these behaviors become natural, automatic, confident. The same principle applies to any area where you want to build confidence. Through consistent action, what once seemed daunting becomes natural. What once required conscious courage becomes automatic. But let's address something that often holds people back from taking this kind of consistent action: the fear of judgment, the worry about what others might think, the concern about looking foolish or incompetent while learning. Here's a perspective that might help. Everyone who has ever achieved anything worthwhile has gone through a period of looking inexperienced, because they were inexperienced. Everyone who has ever mastered anything has gone through a period of making mistakes, because that's how mastery is built. Everyone who has ever become confident in anything has gone through a period of feeling uncertain, because that's how confidence is developed. The question isn't whether you'll go through these phases. The question is whether you'll let the fear of going through them stop you from taking action. Because here's another truth about confidence. It's not built by avoiding situations where you might look foolish. It's built by being willing to look foolish in service of your growth. Consider the person learning a new language. They must be willing to make mistakes, to speak imperfectly, to sometimes say the wrong thing. But through this willingness to take imperfect action, they gradually build both competence and confidence. The alternative, waiting until they can speak perfectly before speaking at all, would prevent them from ever developing either. Or think about someone learning to dance. They must be willing to move awkwardly, to miss steps, to be out of sync sometimes. But through this willingness to take imperfect action, they gradually develop both skill and confidence. The alternative, waiting until they can dance perfectly before dancing at all, would keep them forever on the sidelines. This brings us to another crucial understanding about confidence. It's not about eliminating the possibility of looking foolish. It's about becoming someone who's willing to look foolish in pursuit of growth. It's not about never feeling awkward. It's about being willing to feel awkward in service of learning. It's not about never making mistakes. It's about being willing to make mistakes in order to master new skills. Every expert you admire was once a beginner who was willing to be bad at what they wanted to become good at. Every confident person you know was once uncertain but willing to take action anyway. Every successful person you look up to was once a novice who chose action over perfection. The path to confidence isn't about avoiding situations where you might fail or look foolish. It's about embracing these situations as necessary steps in your growth. It's about understanding that the temporary discomfort of looking inexperienced is a small price to pay for the lasting confidence that comes from developing real competence through action. You see, there's something deeply powerful about understanding the relationship between action and fear. Most people think that confidence is the absence of fear. They believe that once they feel confident, their fears will disappear. But that's not how it works. That's not how it has ever worked. The relationship between fear and confidence is much more intricate, much more beautiful than that. Fear doesn't disappear when confidence arrives. Instead, confidence grows when we learn to act despite our fears. It's like learning to dance with fear rather than waiting for it to leave the room. Consider the surgeon performing their first solo operation. Do you think they felt no fear? Of course they did. But they had built their confidence through years of taking action, first in medical school, then in residency, then under supervision. Each action, each step, each procedure built upon the last, creating not an absence of fear, but a capacity to act effectively despite it. Or think about the first-time teacher standing before a classroom. Are they free from fear? Hardly. But through student teaching, through preparation, through countless small actions leading up to this moment, they've built the confidence to stand there and begin, even with butterflies in their stomach. This is what real confidence looks like. It's not a shield that protects you from fear. It's a bridge that carries you across it. It's not armor that prevents you from feeling uncertain. It's a compass that guides you through uncertainty. It's not a magical state where challenges disappear. It's a hard-won ability to face challenges head-on. Let me share something with you about the nature of action itself. Every action you take writes a story in your mind. Every step forward, no matter how small, leaves a trace in your consciousness. Every time you move despite fear, you're writing a new chapter in your personal history, a chapter that says, I can do this, I have done this, I will do this again. Think about learning to swim in the deep end of the pool. The water doesn't become less deep because you feel confident. The distance to the bottom doesn't shrink. What changes is your relationship with the depth. Through action, through actually swimming in deep water, you build a new understanding of yourself in relation to the challenge. The same principle applies to any area where you want to build confidence. The challenges don't become smaller, you become bigger. The obstacles don't disappear, you become more capable of navigating them. The fears don't vanish, you become more skilled at acting despite them. But here's something crucial to understand. This kind of confidence, and confidence built through action, has a special quality to it. It's not brittle like the confidence that comes from positive thinking alone. It's not fragile like the confidence that depends on perfect conditions. It's robust, resilient, real. Think about a tree growing on a windy hillside. The wind doesn't make the tree weaker, it makes it stronger. The challenging conditions don't diminish the tree. They shape it into something more resilient. Your confidence can grow the same way, not by avoiding challenges, but by facing them. Not by waiting for perfect conditions, but by taking action in the conditions you have. Each action you take is like a root growing deeper into the soil of experience. Each step forward is like a branch reaching further into the sky of possibility. Each challenge you face is like a wind that strengthens your core. Consider the artist who shows their work for the first time. The vulnerability doesn't decrease because they feel confident. The possibility of criticism doesn't disappear. What changes is their relationship with vulnerability, their understanding of criticism, their capacity to share their work despite their fears. Or think about the salesperson making their first cold call. The uncertainty doesn't vanish because they feel confident. The possibility of rejection doesn't fade away. What changes is their relationship with uncertainty, their understanding of rejection, their ability to pick up the phone despite their fears. This is the essence of confidence through action. It's not about becoming fearless. It's about becoming courageous. It's not about eliminating uncertainty. It's about embracing it as part of the journey. It's not about waiting until you feel ready. It's about taking action to become ready. Because here's another truth about confidence that might reshape your entire approach to growth. Confidence isn't just about what you can do. It's about what you can become through doing. Every action you take is not just moving you toward your goal. It's moving you toward a new version of yourself. Every step forward is not just progress toward your destination. It's progress toward who you're capable of being. Think about the difference between someone who knows about mountain climbing from books and someone who has actually climbed mountains. The knowledge might be similar, but the confidence is entirely different. Why? Because confidence doesn't come from knowing, it comes from doing. It doesn't come from understanding, it comes from experiencing. It doesn't come from learning about, it comes from engaging with. This is why action is so crucial to building genuine confidence. Action transforms abstract knowledge into lived experience. It turns theoretical understanding into practical wisdom. It converts "I think I can" into "I know I can because I have." And here's something else about confidence through action that might completely change how you approach challenges. Each action you take doesn't just build confidence in that specific area. It builds your overall confidence in your ability to take action. Each time you move forward despite fear, you're not just building confidence in that particular situation. You're building confidence in your capacity to handle fear itself. Think about that for a moment. Every time you take action despite uncertainty, you're not just getting better at that specific task. You're getting better at taking action despite uncertainty in general. Every time you face a fear and act anyway, you're not just overcoming that specific fear. You're building your overall capacity for courage. This is why taking action in any area of your life can have ripple effects throughout all areas. The confidence you build through learning to cook can affect how you approach learning a new language. The courage you develop through public speaking can influence how you handle difficult conversations in your personal life. The resilience you build through exercise can impact how you approach challenges in your career. Because confidence through action isn't just about becoming good at something specific, it's about becoming someone who takes action. It's not just about mastering particular skills, it's about mastering the art of growth itself. It's not just about achieving certain goals, it's about becoming someone who consistently moves toward their goals despite obstacles.